You seen a plane around here? Any planes or anything? Oh, hey, welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today in my basement, I'm going to be talking to you all about that F-35 that kind of went missing. Looks like they found it. Yeah, so that was it, and today is really kind of special because I'm going to be doing the armchair quarterback thing. I got the old armchair out here today. Gonna do a whole bunch of BSing and a whole bunch of guessing. There we go. That's the way to do it. But yeah, generally, what happened? We'll never know. It's the military, man. Oh, and by the way, hi, Al, Gafuk, and Nefarious. So, yeah, there was they found that F-35. It was a Marines F-35 that kind of went missing there. Oops. Stealth fighter. Hey, of course you can't find it. And so, it was one of those things. I think it was kind of a little bit of a whoops on the way their PR department, kind of putting it out there. Hey, has anyone seen our plane? Yeah, but I could see how it could be tricky to find it, though. And I'll give you my 2 cents about that one, too. So, what kind of plane was this? It was an F-35. And this is actually kind of cool because this gave me a really good I don't know, excuse or motivation or something like that to kind of look into this plane. And like the F-35 is just a phenomenal airplane. Oh, hey Dan. And it was I've seen a few YouTube videos about it and stuff, and it's like that. I don't even know if I could fly one of these things, man. It's all pretty much, it's basically, from what I can tell, it's kind of like it flies itself. Everything's computerized on it, fly by wire. It's not like you have cables and pulleys and everything on it to make the control surfaces work on that thing. Like I fly on my little airplanes, but yeah. Oh, none of your business is here too. Hi. So yeah, all electronic, man. It's basically kind of like a drone almost, except they throw a pilot in there. So, anyways, so yeah, the F-35, the one that okay, let's clear the air about what we're gonna call this here, because on the Super Pilotish channel, we kind of don't like to talk about crashes, because that kind of scares people a little bit. So what happened here in the civilian world would be called an occurrence. In the military world, I found out they call that a mishap. So I've it's kind of different. And so in the civilian world, I guess I've been involved with occurrences. They happen, and it could be anything from, see, they will say if something's really bad in the civilian world, we'll call it an accident. And if it's like not too bad, depending on some characteristics and category, how bad it is, it would be either an accident or a incident. But I was looking into it for the Air Force. I found an Air Force webpage, and then I was also looking for the Air Force, Army, and Marines. I didn't look into the Navy, but it seems like in the American military, anything at all safety related that happens, it's called a mishap. So it's being reported as a mishap, and it's kind of a weird thing that the way that the media is. And also remember, with the media, I've been involved. We'll say I've had news media contacting me in the past about different incidents, we'll say, or anything else aviation related. And so it's like nobody knows anything about airplanes or anything like that. So most of the time they're going to get something wrong in the media. So when they're reporting on a mishap, it's like, yeah, it's an occurrence. It's something that happened. Like an example of a mishap, I was looking at the Marines. This is a Marine F-35 that went down. So they have categories A, B, C, D, and other. So in the Air Force, they have A, B, C, D, and E. So, but A is like, okay, someone's killed or aircraft is lost, destroyed. And it also, all the categories of mishap go by basically how much money does it cost. So it's like, yeah, it was like over 2 mil. Yeah, okay, that's an A mishap. And the F-35s, last I checked, were about 100 mils, so that's quite a bit. Luckily, and the pilot did survive, so that's a good thing. Ejected, so that's cool. So that's why I'm armchair quarterbacking it, because like I don't want to talk about anything nasty there. Oh, and hey, Ranch, thanks for popping in. Okay, so yeah, they got the ABCD mishap, and then you actually have courses on that, like on how to report these different things. Like I mean, in the military, they take safety. Strangely enough, they're always blowing stuff up and everything, but they take safety extremely seriously. And I just kind of know somewhat, we'll say firsthand, with the Canadian Department of Defense. Yeah, there was. An incident, we'll say. It wasn't an accident or anything like that. It was just something like a close call. And it was enough to send the Department of Defense kind of nosing around where I used to work. And they take things very seriously. Like, they got kind of pissed off at me because I was joking around too much. So, oops, that happens. But yeah, and they were saying that here in Canada, like anything in North America, NORAD up in North Bay, Ontario. It's actually like an underground bunker. Like I forget how many hundreds of feet underground it is, but it's an underground bunker that's designed to withstand a nuclear blast. That's when they built it in the Cold War times. So the main NORAD tracking station up there in North Bay, they're all hooked up with satellites and all kinds of wacky stuff there. And the Department of Defense guy told me, he's like, we can see anything flying in the air in North America at any altitude at any time of day. And I was like, whoa. It's like, yeah, they got it all set up for spy stuff. So chances are, but it takes time though. They'll have to go back and look at satellite footage and all this other stuff. So I'm sure NORAD got a call there if one of their F-35s went missing. And yeah, so what was I going to talk there about? Okay, yeah, so there's the mishap was considered a was it Class A mishap, and so there we go. In the civilian world, that would be an accident. So it was an F-30. And I didn't know there was 3 different variants of an F-35. So there's the F-35A, which is kind of cool the way they do it. The A is for the Air Force, so it just kind of takes off on regular Air Force runways. B, F-35B is for the Marines, and then F-35C is for carriers, like for the Navy. So those have foldable wingtips for storage, and that has a tail hook. But the F-35B, the one that the Class A mishap happened to, yeah, it's that's that one that can. I will demonstrate how the F-35B can land with my KD-12X over here. So yeah, it's kind of like the old Harrier jets. They can kind of fly in and they make a whole bunch of noise, and it's super awesome at air shows. And they can do VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing. So they can just do that, and they can take off, and away they go, just like that. So that was the cool kind. There's different, because they got all those little extra engine fans and stuff like that. There's less fuel capacity, so there's less range. So I think structurally it's a little bit weaker because it's got a hole in the top and bottom and stuff, and it limits the top speed, I think. But anyways, it's all out there on Wikipedia if you want to sound like an expert. And yeah, so the F-35B, what happened? It was flying around. The guy ejected, or girl, or whoever ejected, and that's about it. That's all we know. And that's all you will know. Like when it comes to military stuff, like you'll never really know the whole story. Especially right now, where there's going to be an investigation, and like I mentioned before, they're going to get NORAD involved. They're going to be pulling tapes everywhere, as they say, for air traffic control, radar coverage, all this other stuff. So some people might be thinking, like, why was it so hard to find this thing? Well, it's a stealth fighter, right? And it does make sense too. And the thing that I don't know, which would be really interesting to find out, but I don't know if I ever will, is like, okay, once you eject from the plane, what happens to the plane after that? And as far as ejecting goes, I'll tell you what I know about ejection seats. Don't pull the handle unless you really want to. Because actually, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He did his first. He was in the Canadian Air Force, and at the time when he was first doing his jet training, it was the first plane he ever flew in with an ejection seat. And I was talking to him on the phone, and he's like, "Dude, you wouldn't believe what it's like getting in a plane with an ejection seat." He's like, all you can do is stare at that handle and say, "Don't touch the handle, don't touch the handle." I'm like, I'm on the phone. I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to do that. So it's all you do is you pull the handle and away you go. Except for I also found out in my research for this show the F-35B, the one that is capable of the one that went missing and then went founding, that it can do this when it's in the mode that it's doing this vertical takeoff and landing stuff. And I put a link in the description below to the video that I learned this from. A couple military guys there, CW Lemoyne. Anyways, he's what is it, Air Force Reserve pilot or something like that. Anyways, he's got a YouTube channel. It's very interesting. And so he was talking with his other buddy, the airplane military buddy, and apparently it has an automatic ejection seat if something gets if it gets all when it's doing its vertical takeoff and landing. I think it's in some sort of like a automatic stabilization autopilot kind of landing mode, and I'm sure it's got, oh hey, Dustin and Rick's in here too. It's I'm sure it's got to have some kind of ground radar, and it's basically a drone at this point, and the pilot's sitting in there just kind of watching it go down. It's not like the old Harrier jump jets. That was, you had to go from like airplane mode to helicopter mode kind of thing, and apparently that was really tricky. But it's a lot of that's more automated now with the F-35, and when it is in that mode where it's doing the vertical takeoff and landing, apparently it has an automatic ejection seat because the stabilization of the plane, it will be detected by G meters and stuff like that, and if it's getting all weird and wonky, then it'll just shoot the pilot out automatically. So and so did the automatic ejection seat go off while the plane was flying around? I don't know. Nobody knows. But we got the armchair quarterback here to tell you. I got the chair out. I can talk about whatever I want because I'm an expert in my armchair. So, anyways, so there's, is that a possibility? I'm sure the engineers have probably, engineers are pretty meticulous when it comes to like figuring out fail safes of what if this happens, what if that happens, what if that happens. And then if they have a big enough budget, they can what if whatever you want. So so I did the eject. I don't know. Was it an accident? Was he just like bored and say, "Hey, I'm gonna pull this handle here, see what happens"? But I was looking also at the F-35 cockpit because I mean inadvertent ejections, they have happened here and there, and the plane just keeps on flying. But I'm not sure about the F-35 in this case here. But I'll tell you about what I also know about ejection seats is that for the F-35, I was looking at it, and you're kind of sitting in an armchair there. That you got your throttle over here, and then your main control stick is on the right. So you don't have like a stick, like other airplanes is kind of right in the middle of the airplane, and it controls your ailerons and elevators and stuff, and it's between your legs there. And I kind of put off saying the stick's between your legs. Yeah. Well, it was. But anyways, so the stick is not between your legs on the F-35. It's off on the side. And so you're right in the middle. There's this yellow ring that you can see. There's pictures on the internet. It's basically the way that they train these guys to eject is that you put both your hands on the ring, pull it up, and you get shoot off out of the airplane. Depending on the plane, the canopy will just blow off on its own. And other planes will have like explosives right in the canopy and they'll blow off, and then up through the hole you go. And so I think that's what they have on the F-35. Don't quote me on that one. And then they also, yeah, and that's another thing too. I know about that. If you're too tall, you can't be a fighter pilot because of the ejection seat. They also have, if you're sitting there, you got your feet out on the rudder pedals. There's little restraints that go on there that when you eject, it pulls your legs back into the chair, and so that way you don't rip your knees off the dashboard when you're going out. And that's why you can't. I think in Canada the cutoff is 6 feet for a fighter pilot. If you're over that, you're out of luck because the ejection seats you'll rip your knees off basically over that height. And because I know a guy, he pretty good pilot, good younger guy, and he ended up joining the Air Force, and he ended up doing helicopter training. So he couldn't be in the he couldn't fly the fast jets, but anyways, helicopter pilot. So what else we got here? So that's all I know about about ejection seats, and it's pretty cool. Like I got a seat with explosives in it, man. Boom. Oh yeah, and then I met another guy. I know a guy that actually ejected from. Well, I met a guy. He was a Transport Canada inspector, and he ejected from what was it? A Tudor jet, which is a side-by-side training jet that the Canadian Snowbirds use for their aerobatic teams, or the aerobatic team there. And yeah, so he ejected out of that and he messed his back up. So he couldn't fly in any plane after that had an ejection seat in Canada, anyways, or in the military. He later went on to be a test pilot, and he was flying other planes with ejection seats. But he said that's kind of the last thing you want to do is eject, because there's a high chance you're going to mess up your back. And apparently the ejection seats back when he did it weren't as it was more of a violent ejection rather than a fast acceleration pushing you up. So yeah, he messed up his back, but nice guy, pretty funny guy. And okay, what else was I going to talk about there? Oh, the radar. Okay, why couldn't they keep this, just watch this thing on radar? So if you are not a pilot, you might think like regular civilian radar, at your local big airport, maybe your city airport in Charleston or someplace, they got their little beep beep radar screen there, with little things lit up. And okay, that normally they have that tuned into people that have a transponder. So you'll have a plane, and I'm sure that I believe it was the F-35 that went missing and then went found. There was two ship formation there. So if there's two airplanes doing that, only one airplane has a transponder code and the other plane follows it, and they're registered in the system as a formation of two, and only the lead squawks the number. So I don't know whether it was the lead or the wingman that kind of went missing. I'm not sure about that. But anyways, you would have that, and so and that's another thing too. If you eject, does the airplane shut the electronics off as a safety feature? Or I was thinking too, if it's such a high-tech airplane, if you eject, and let's just say you're over China or Russia, or some enemy territory or wherever you might be, and you eject, and then the plane's like not doing too bad with I would think the computers would automatically kind of brick themselves, just like, oh, this plane is going to land in the hills in Afghanistan. We don't want them to get their high-tech info off of this plane. So I would think if you eject, it'd probably start wiping out, technology that people could use and scavenge from it. But I don't know. But I should just start lying and say, yeah, oh yeah, that's what they do. And I got my chair and I could eat popcorn, get all fat. I don't know. But yeah, being a real internet expert in my basement. So okay, where are we going to there? We're talking about radar. Yeah, so the transponder, who knows what, and if they did start shutting electronics down, that would turn the transponder off on the plane. Maybe. But for sure, if you had no transponder, which is basically kind of like it's basically like a little FM radio station, and it's just on a certain frequency, putting out the F-35 greatest hits, F-35.5. Yeah. So Yeah, so if that was off, there's very little chance that you would ever see that on the radar, even though okay, so they call that secondary radar with your transponder. Usually that's all they're kind of looking at in the control tower. Primary radar is when they send something out and it bounces off an object and comes back and says, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." It's not a radio signal going out. So, yeah, and that was the first type of radar that was ever invented back in around World War II. I think they did that. So, you put it out, but that can bounce off of anything that's in the air. So you could have a big flock of geese, and it would bounce back a signal going like, "Oh, hey, we got a big flock of, or we got this really slow moving airplane here. Oh no, it's a flock of geese." So if a lot of times the air traffic controllers will, you can tune in the intensity of the radar, so that you can really crank it up so you can see everything that's in the air, or you can tune it down where you don't see the birds or something like that. But the I have no doubt at all that an F-35 would never show up on conventional primary radar because of its stealth capabilities, the shape of it, the type of paint that's on it. I mean, they've had these stealth airplanes since, what is it, the late 80s? Oh, the stealth F-117 stealth fighter. It was booting around. No one ever saw it. And that was like back, what, 90s? 30 years ago, something like that. So there's no way that anyone would be able to see an F-35. And even still, I've heard that it's hard to see that type of radar even on fabric covered airplanes because it kind of absorbs the fabric will absorb the radar signature, radar bounce, the radar beam. And I also know someone that was flying a composite plane. What is it? The Diamond Katana, and yeah, those ones there because they're all kind of swoopy and carbon fiber that they bounce the signals all over the place weird, just like the F-35. So I know that those are hard to see on radar too. So if they lost the little transponder, they would not see that airplane. And then they could kind of guess where it would be going, judging by how fast it was going, what altitude it was at. Yeah, there's different factors there. What's the wind, speed, and direction? So there's a whole lot of different factors in there, like why it would be hard to find. I've heard weather was a issue. I did hear also there was some on Twitter. I saw there was some air traffic control talking back and forth, and I swear I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm used to listening to people doing airplaney stuff on the radio, and I couldn't tell. So I don't know. And then it's also, I don't know. It's also like on Twitter or X or whatever, and it's media, and so I don't really trust it too much because I don't know. I mean, they're even less expert than me about that stuff. So, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. So, maybe that anyone that's reporting on that. Oh, I heard him say this, and then they write it down and it's wrong, and then it gets copied and pasted all around. That's the way it works. So, yeah, what else we got to do here? Yeah, so I'm sure when that happened, they did their probably your standard lost airplane emergency response. They put out like a blanket statement to the media. We are investigating, blah blah blah, and that's what even where I used to work, every place that you have airplanes where people are getting paid, whether it's the military or airlines or anything like that, if there's some sort of a accident or class A mishap, then you can, the first thing you do is shut up. You put out one, and it's a protocol that you go through. It's like a checklist, and you just say, okay, number one, we do this. Number two, contact the owner. Number three, do this. Contact the general. Contact the base commander. Media relations. Tell them to report media statement A, which is we're investigating. We'll get back to you. Like stuff like that. So it's all kind of a procedure that I'm sure they're doing there, and just a whole ton of paperwork. I'm so glad I don't have to do. Oh man, that would suck. But anyways, I can't imagine the amount of paperwork that's going on right now for the F-35. Oh man. And everybody wants to know everything right away, and it's like it takes time, they got to go through the records. And most important thing is that everyone, well, the guy ejected safely, or the girl, or whoever. They didn't say there was death, so. And that's also part of the procedure too, is that pilot's not going to go out in the news and say, hey guys, look how awesome I was at ejecting. It's like, my name is this, I live at this address. Like and subscribe on my brand new YouTube channel, Hero F-35. No, they won't be doing that. I'm sure that officer is under strict orders to STFU, and just kind of stay home and play it cool. And although, I'll bet you for something like that, he's probably getting a medical assessment, and they're probably throwing him in an airplane or a simulator, at least, anyways. Because once you get rattled, you gotta get back on the horse right away. So I'm sure if he's cleared for medical, they'd probably throw him in a sim at least, and then ask him a bunch of questions, or her, whoever. Okay, what else do we got here? Yeah, that's about all I was going to talk about here. Was just, I don't know, but I think it's well, I'm an armchair quarterback, so I feel like whipping out the chair and just trying to talk airplane stuff, because this is like, all pilots do this. But if you're in a gang of pilots at the airport, everyone will be talking just like this and sharing knowledge and everything. And the most important thing there is that even if you are armchair quarterbacking like this, we like, it's military, we're not going to know the whole story. And really, it's just about, the focus of the investigation is not, did someone make a mistake, was there maintenance issues, engineering issues, manufacturer issues, weather issues. We don't know. It could be a combination of all of them. And the whole thing about why pilots are morbidly obsessed with these types of things is that it's to, like, for us to save our bacon. So it's like, I want to know what happened there, so I can go, I'm not doing that. If they say, like, hey, don't touch the stove. Yeah, whatever. Man, I touched that stove over there and burned my finger. Okay, I'm not going to touch the stove. Got it. Right in there. I remember that one time he was telling me not to touch the stove, so I'm not going to do it. And so that's why pilots are kind of really interested in all this stuff. So anyways, Jim's in here too. Hey, Jim. I'm going to just kind of take a look through here, see if there was any questions or interesting insights that popped up, that maybe my fantastic audience here is sitting in their armchair right now, being all genius just like me. All right, what else we got here? I like this one. When I was a mechanic, we called it an IFB problem. I'm guessing that it's broken. Okay, very good. That's kind of like, actually, what was it? Whenever I remember when I was a machinist, and it would always happen that there'd be like some scrapped out part, and you get a big paint marker, you write NFG on the side of it, and which means no good. And the thing is, I know it always happened where there's like some guy screwed up a part or something. They wrote NFG like all over it, everywhere. There were like a whole pallet of parts, NFG everywhere. And then the boss would come in and he's like, get that stuff get that paint marker off of there or whatever. Get some alcohol, get the marker off of that thing. I don't want a tour coming by today to see that all over my parts. So get it out in the backyard or something like that. That's right. So it's broken. Yes, IFB. I think that's the same as NFG. So what else we got here? Yep. There we go. Okay, what's this here? Wrench is talking about. Posted the spider in the cockpit ejection cartoon on Facebook. Great cartoon. Google. I'll have to Google that, I guess. But you know what? It would not surprise me at all if I was thinking if there was going to be an inadvertent mistaken ejection from the plane. I was thinking about like what happened. It would be probably the easiest thing to do is they're flying around with a knee board or something like that, and they got their pen, and oops, I dropped my pen. And then you reach over, but you're all strapped right into your seat, right? So you loosen up your straps and you bend over like this, and you grab the pen, and something else catches on the hook. It's on autopilot, so most of the time I'm sure on those planes they're flying, they take off, autopilot engage. They're coming into land, autopilot engaged. I think they're mostly on autopilot the whole time there. And then they're sitting around. Oh, I dropped my pen, dropped my phone, taking selfies or whatever. Goes over to picks it up, comes up fast, and something catches on the ejection handle. Out they go. Maybe. I'm sure those handles, they're pretty round, so they're not designed to not catch on things, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if something like that. Like, the thing is, if I can even think about that happening, it's either happened in the past or it will happen in the future. And that's the way it is with aviation safety. If you can even remotely think of it happening, it'll happen. It's just a matter of time. So you'll see. Ooh. All right. Al's voting for the Hot Shots watch party. That would be cool. Oh, Hot Shots is such an awesome video or awesome movie. Okay. All right. Serious question here from Rick's Barbecue. Did the pilot eject so that he could get to a barbecue cook he saw when he flew over? I would say probably no. I'm sure they're flying at altitudes that you can't really check out a barbecue. But if it's Rick's Barbecue famous sauce, he might have smelled it. So not out of the question, I would say. But he wouldn't see anything up at that altitude. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard this before, Ranch. Are there conditions where the plane decides to reject you? Well, yeah. Oh, if you're talking reject or eject, if you're saying reject, no. To eject, I mentioned that before in the video. So, okay. All right. Oh, I like these comments here. Engineers design things to cut. Engineers design things to cut mechanics' knuckles. Yep. There we go. And machinists too. If you ever are a machinist, you're going to cut yourself every single day. But that's not really necessarily the engineers. That's usually self-inflicted pain or just negligence or just the nature of the job. Okay. Okay. All right. We're just kind of looking through these things here. I might miss a question or two because I'm scrolling kind of fast. Oh, Greg McNeely. I didn't see a pop in here. PMCS weren't being followed. I don't know what that would be. PMCS. Primary something system. I'm not too sure. Yeah, actually, maybe I should Google that. But it's probably something that we wouldn't know anyways, whatever that. You know what? I got to check that out. Now that I've teased the audience, PMCS. What's that? I'm going to Google search that right now. Just for my own indulgence. PMCS. What does that mean? PMCs often provide services to train or supplement official armed forces, military contracts, PMC. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. What's that? Private military contracts, or is it something else? Okay. Not too sure about that one. I know that they do a lot of flight training nowadays for militaries. Is like it's is contracted out to, it's usually former military guys that are very experienced, and then they'll come back and teach. Yeah, I remember here out in Moose Jaw, where there's an Air Force base here in Canada. They were advertising for flight instructors, like even just like I could have applied for the job, and I was thinking that'd be kind of cool, like just working as a military contractor. Actually, they paid pretty well, but I didn't want to move out to Moose Jaw. Oh, Vanessa Kitty, that's our Air Force expert here. Okay, she's in town. Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. We'll clear up here with wrench eject, not reject. Wrote before you addressed. Google says no. Well, in the video that I saw in the link below, the guys are saying that when the F-35B is in kind of like a hover mode, and then when it's landing, apparently if things get all wonky, it'll automatically eject you if you're in that mode. So that's what the guys said, and they're military guys. They know more than me, and that's in the link below. I think they mentioned that. Okay, well, lots of good chatting here today. So, all right. These days, Al's saying, these days, you must be old there, buddy. I say that too. These days, nobody does proper inspections. We have triple redundancy and had 2 trailers catch fire for neglected brakes. Yeah, if you're talking about trucks and stuff like that, yeah, I don't know. I know here in Ontario, if you are a truck driver, man, you got to make sure your truck's in good shape, because they'll pull you over the weigh scales and go through there, and like the driver has to pay the fine. And they're they're pretty thorough here in Ontario. What happened was a few years ago, wheels were falling off of all these trailers and stuff, and they just started going full Nazi, just cracking down on everybody, busting. Where some ministry transportation guy might let a light bulb slide till he can go get it fixed. Nope. Boom. $250 fine, $400 fine. Wham, wham, wham. So anyways, that is that's the way that goes. Wait a minute. Vanessa, she's got a war story here. Cool. I was being flown across Alaska in a small craft to Eek, Alaska. The wind flipped us around 360. The pilot and I on landing couldn't stop laughing. Early 80s. Oh, well. I wonder if that was like a tail dragger and you kind of ground looped it. Yeah, that can happen. Especially on a big crosswind on a tail dragger. Yep. So, okay. And yeah, Greg, you're late, Greg. Shame on you. No, that's anyway. Yep, they found the jet, and yeah. And Google has a video of a pilot ejecting while having mishaps on the tarmac. I don't know what kind of mishaps you mean there. Oh, but I did learn about the Class A mishap. That's where like the airplane's lost and crashed. The least one in the Air Force is a Class E, and then it would be other in the Marines for that mishap. And that's something that doesn't even have to happen. Like it'd be like, for example, you could report a Class E mishap if there's a light bulb burnt out in the parking lot at the airport and someone might step in a pothole and hurt their ankle. And so you write it up as something that possibly could happen. And that'd be the least level of mishap. So anyways, that is that. Okay, so today is Wednesday. I got some stuff to do today. And yeah, so I'll be back on Friday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. Probably won't have my my good old armchair next time. I don't know. Send me an email if you want me to talk about something. I know Dan sent me something about drones. I got to check that on my email too. But yeah, so I think we'll just kind of shut her down here now. So thank you for watching. Bye.